Please take your seats and mute your phone. This third session will be a panel discussion and a wrap-up. There are two agendas. Agenda 1 is key policy issues to decimate E&C in the building sector. And Agenda 2 is technical challenges for achieving carbon neutrality in the building sector. Join me in welcoming the moderator, Dr. Yoshitaka Ushio, ECCJ.
My name is Yoshitaka Ushio, Senior Advisor of Energy Conservation Center of Japan. I'm working for this energy efficiency promotion project for almost 20 years, mainly for the ASEAN countries. We had a lot of projects of the capacity buildings. So today, I have very glad to do this moderator under such kind of experience. And I hope this discussion will be very, nice. So anyway, let's start this introduction first. In order to achieve the goal of carbon neutrality in the building sector in 2050, some countries are maybe different, but almost these time, which is the goal of the decarbonization of the mitigation of climate change. ZEB building are essential in all countries. However, the global ZEB initiative is in the early stage, and it is not something that can be achieved suddenly. So it is important to move forward step by step toward the final goal in Japan. The ZEB family concept, step-by-step approach to net ZEB. ZEB ready, nearly ZEB, and net ZEB, finally net ZEB. And its methodology had been proposed and was published as ISO TS23764 in September 2021 for dissemination overseas. This concept was referred in Mr. Hoshino's opening remarks and in the couple of presentations today. Of course, we believe that there will be many issues that need to be solved toward achieving this ultimate goal. In consideration of the presentation and the discussion so far, and the outcomes of Japanese ZEB promotion project. In the panel discussion, session 3, we will focus on the following two themes, dividing into two groups and one theme for one group. To ask your question, I would like to ask each panelist will make his or her remarks within 5 minutes. So theme 1 is a key policy issue to enhance awareness of building owners to promote ZEB. This is also discussed today, previous presentations. So generally speaking, ZEB is still not well understood worldwide. Building owners are reluctant to promote ZEB because of the high construction cost and their impression that ZEB is just not feasible. According to the survey of ZEB planners, ZEB planner means ZEB designers in Japan, the main reason for the failure of ZEB proposal to the client is also that the construction cost of ZEB does not satisfy the client budget. Not considered some other, benefit of the climate mitigation of climate change or some kind of reputation of the company. Therefore, it is considered necessary to create an environment in which client can easily understand the benefit of ZEB, such as enhancing building value and social reputation, mitigation of climate change, etc., as well as reduction of cost of ZEB. In Japanese initiative to promote the dissemination ZEB toward carbon neutrality, it is seems that government subsidies are the most effective measure to realize ZEB now. However, sustainability of the project subsidy will be eliminated at the end of the day. So under these circumstances, as a first challenge in promoting ZEB, this theme is chosen. So I would like to ask Ms. Kristina, I would like to hear your opinion on the solution of these challenges from global perspective, based on your experience in the promoting policy from multiple perspectives in the field of environment green buildings. So it is, It is appreciated if you could include the content of the financing and the subsidies in your comment based on experience to create the green building project. Please, Ms. Kristina, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ushio. And to echo your earlier remarks, indeed, net zero buildings are often viewed as complex and expensive by both developers and building owners. However, the good news is, and being here as a third session of the day, so I'm lucky to have had the first two sessions, and we've all have seen the examples of green buildings, both new construction green buildings and also those which were renovated. So we heard the great example of Takeda building in Singapore, Astaka building as well in Malaysia, the Cradle in Germany, another building in Beijing, which was also developed. So they're clearly the technology is there. They're great examples. We've also heard in the first session a number of policies from Canada, Australia, Japan, some of the success cases. So clearly we have policies, we have the technology. The challenge is scaling and ensuring that net zero buildings can be mainstream. And there are a number of barriers for that. So some of the barriers I wanted to mention are the market barriers, of course, ensuring that there is efficient products on the market and services available in each region. Financial barriers, so really ensuring that there are financial means to build and renovate buildings and that those financial products are specifically adapted to the net zero market. Technical barriers, and also awareness barriers. And on the awareness, just wanted to echo the first presentation where we heard that for net zero buildings are not really just about saving energy. It is really about people, and we have to highlight all the benefits and not just the energy benefits. It's great to talk about kilowatt hours, but there is more to the benefits of net zero buildings that we have to highlight for both developers and owners, occupiers as well. And lastly, there are institutional barriers. Sometimes there is a disconnect between the policies and the market framework as well. And so I'm lucky also being within the IEA, because the Energy Efficiency Hub is hosted within the International Energy Agency's Energy Efficiency Division, and my colleagues have been working on the so-called policy toolkit or policy package approach, which was mentioned earlier by my colleague Haruto in his first remarks, really focusing on the three pillars of policy packages: the regulations, the incentives, and information. And this approach was also highlighted by Dr. Nuki later in the next session as well. So I'll only mention it briefly here. So regulation is really important to set the scene. We need codes, we need standards. And a good example was provided to us earlier by Australia with the national construction codes that were implemented there. And it was also shown that have already implemented energy building codes. So then I also wanted to mention another example of regulation is the minimum energy performance standards. Here, going back to the country where I used to live, the Netherlands, for instance, by 2023, which is just around the corner, all office buildings have to have the energy rating of C. And this is related to buildings that are larger than 100 square meters. It's roughly 60,000 buildings in the Netherlands. And that sends the market quite a strong signal, because what investors want to do is avoid stranded assets, and they want to be able to re-rent the building. So that's another example of a regulation that really drives the market. So now let's turn to the second pillar of the policy packages, to information. And it's also very crucial to foster the market adoption of net zero buildings. Here, some examples are energy performance certificates are quite widely used in Europe, building renovation passports, also effective at improving energy efficiency in buildings. But also, let's turn to labels and branding. Today, we've heard several examples of labels and branding today. For instance, from Neighbors in Australia to Bream and LEED in Europe, to then Green Mark in Singapore, quite a relevant example where building developers get a certain amount of incentives to increase really those steps within the Green Mark. And we've heard about the Green Pass from Malaysia as well. So there are already good examples of information campaigns here. But also interestingly, the earlier opening session, at least that was quite interesting to me to see that from Tokyo Metropolitan University, really highlighting that green labels don't always directly correspond with energy performance. So clearly there's more work that needs to be done in that direction. And now turning to incentives, the third pillar of the policy packages. And there are non-financial and also financial incentives. And when it comes to financial incentives, there are certainly traditional and also innovative financing tools that can be used in order to stimulate net zero buildings. And in many cases, the financing instruments are, they're not different in any way for net zero buildings. They're similar for energy efficiency buildings and simply for building new buildings. However, when it comes to net zero, some of the traditional financing instruments such as equity, leases, commercial debt, including mortgages and loans and bonds, some of these financial instruments, they require additional criteria for net zero buildings or for energy efficient buildings. On the other hand, we have the innovative financing instruments, and here we have various energy saving and supply agreement, such as PPAs, which were referred to in the earlier presentations regarding renovation of buildings, so power purchase agreements, also EPCs, energy performance contracts, and there are two other instruments that are currently available in the US, Australia, and a couple other countries, such as PACE, which is property assessed clean energy or on-tax financing, and also on-bill financing schemes. And what those schemes do is they attach the debt to a building itself, rather than attaching that debt to a person or to an owner, which in some cases can really help speed up the decision-making process to undertake the renovation. But what I really want to mention is that when it comes to financing incentives, there is no one silver bullet. There is no one best solution, and we need a menu of tools. We need a menu of solutions in order to address different building types and also different life cycles of a building itself, because we have to focus not only on building new net zero buildings, but also on renovating many of the existing buildings, just echoing what my colleague Manuel from Germany has mentioned earlier, that most of the buildings in Germany will be there until for another 20-30 years. So it is quite important to highlight those. And the public sector has an important role to play there. The public sector is there to ensure that there is a regulatory environment that attracts private capital to the market, and that there are the right incentives, the right subsidies that are sending the message to the market that this is the road we're on and we're going towards net zero, and it's just around the corner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the IEA's, the policy package approach. I think this is in a previous presentation, Mr. Dr. Nuki-san also presented. I think that's a very good, expression to explain some kind of policy making. So this time, Kristina, Miss Kristina explained more, focus more on the kind of a financial side. So I think, so then I would move to Dr. Nuki Agya Utama. We are, Ace is our, friend, and the promotion of energy efficiency and conservation in the building sector is one of the key policy in the ASEAN Plan of Action on Energy Cooperation, APAEC. In addition, the effort have been made to raise awareness of them, including E&C capacity building and the establishment of zero energy category in the ASEAN Energy Award. Moreover, the private sector involvement is for promotion of E&C is also most key issue in APAEC. I would like to hear your opinion on the challenges of awareness enhancement of the building owners in the private sector in ASEAN region at the top of the regional organization of the energy cooperation in ASEAN.
Thank you very much, Oshio Sensei. Before start on your question, we're looking at first the stakeholders in the building itself. The stakeholders of the buildings related to the first, the materials, second, the appliances. These two are related to the industrial sectors. Industrial sectors is related with something that government policy regulation are having. So the second part is the developers, designers, and the users. So developers, designers, and the users is directly related to banking system. Even though the appliances and the material also related to the banking system, but indirectly, if we talk about the zero energy buildings. But the developers, designers, and also users, we can utilize the scheme coming from the bank to give incentive to these three stakeholders. Yeah. In regard with these materials and appliances, the process is a bit long rather than if you're looking at these three stakeholders. So introduction of the net zero buildings, we have to go through these stakeholders rather than only government. Introducing the net zero to industrial sectors, we have to really give them a perspective whenever you're going to start with net zero buildings, which is your material should be also sustainable, low emissions, less energy utilization coming from fossil fuels. Then you have to convince them that if you do this, there are incentives coming from the bank. So basically, I'm saying here, most of these factors related with the capital investment, because again, the challenges right now that we're still having is the high of the capital costs. So who's going to bear the expenses? Those are the questions, right? So developers said users should bear the consequences of the expenses. The designer said, I really don't care as long as money coming to my pocket. Yeah. I can design whatever I want. But the design that easier for me to make is the one that I choose, rather than complicated design, which is green building designs. Very complicated, you have to include all of those as presented by Kajima engineering. So those are the processes that every stakeholders have to understand when it's going to end up. And all of those mainly related to government regulation, policies, and also the bank system. There is one example that the banks really do not, local banks, what I meant, do not want to really go through the zero energy building because of there is no guarantee. So one of the good examples that currently we are planning to do is the energy efficiency in the industrial sectors. We got a guarantee from the Green Climate Funds, and the bank then willing to proceed because there is a guarantee. So if World Bank, for example, ADB, for example, willing to take the off-taker of this guarantee on the capital, then will be quite interesting for local bank to proceed. Otherwise, it will go again without any progress. So those are my suggestion, Oshio-san. I think the time is not really in my favor. Thank you.
I think that's very important. The financial point of view, bank the least money. That is very important point. But as a like a regional organization, you have a more like this policy type a package type approach. I think more information side is more keen to you for your organizations. So I think some short comment of the such a point also.
Can you repeat again?
Information, the like IEA proposed the policy type approach, package type. Policy package approach. There are three action area. The information area, the other like ACE. There you have some kind of function for the provide information or some for to the promotion of the debt.
Yeah, under the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, we do have one program activities. We call it the energy efficiency and conservation. Part of those are building sectors. The energy efficiency target in building sectors is also part of the whole target on reducing the energy consumption based on 2005 level, which is 23% 2025. Those are translated into the activities within the member states. And one of the big activities that currently we have on promoting the zero energy building is through award. We do have ASEAN award on that matters. So we do have also some standard requirements whenever buildings want to apply for these awards. And I think Malaysia got recently that you presented just now on the ASEAN Energy Award. So those are the approach that currently we did. But this, I realize it's not enough. It's not enough. Those are something that really need to enhance more. And again, we need to work together with all stakeholders. Yeah. Currently, we only focusing on this policy regulation and also some of those relevant stakeholders. But to implement more grassroots implementation of this, we need to have more joint work together amongst these stakeholders.
Okay, thank you very much. So then we move to, I would like to ask Mr. Manuel Palz in Germany online. Miss Kristina introduced IEA proposed policy package approach that combine three types of action area: regulation, information, and the incentive. So now some comment for Miss Kristina for focus on the financial incentive, and also the Dr. Nuki also focus on the incentive or like financial and also information. So then I would like to ask you your opinion to raising awareness of building owners from the point of view, based on your abundant experience and knowledge of the CN initiative in the building region, building. So ask you, sorry, from the point of view, based on your abundant experience, knowledge of the CN initiative in the building sector in Germany, and you may, your many years experience in Asia. So you have some comment of the, regarding to the regulation side. So Mr. Palz, please.
Thank you very much for the question. To start with, as I shared already in my presentation, one needs to understand that Germany's policy.
No sound.
Everything okay? No sound? Sound is on.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Signal? Yeah, thank you. Okay. As mentioned and also shared during my presentation, one needs to understand that Germany's policy is embedded in the in the policies of the European Union. So it's not an isolated policy approach that we are applying here in Germany when it comes to regulations. You might know that there is this so-called Green Deal, European Green Deal, where Europe aims to be the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And in this policy framework, Germany has set up the Climate Change Act, which was a ruling by the court that we need to be climate neutral by 2045. The building sector is part of it. And in order to achieve this ambitious goal, we, as the federal government, are coming up with several regulations that we are steadily increasing and enforcing and sharpen towards this goal. Of course, as already mentioned, it is also to be seen from different point of views. There is the side of the investor, there's the side of the government, there's the side of the tenants. And here we need to make awareness why it is so important that we start with proper renovations and refurbishments of our apartment buildings. Otherwise, we have a lack of energy, we have a lack of cost. The investment that has been done in the building sector is always part of the regulatory framework. So in the recent years, we have done incentives as well as regulations, but we are shifting more and more towards a more regulative approach. As we have seen, there has been a huge demand on the financial side when building owners have asked for incentives or support schemes, but yet it is only done the minimum. We need to do more. As I've shown in my presentation, in the last 2 years, the building sector in Germany has failed to meet the climate goals that we have set ourselves. Of course, we understand that the investment or the renovation approach takes a little bit more time until you really feel the measures working, but yet it seems not to be enough. And from a fiscal point of view, from a government point of view, we cannot keep increasing the funding for renovation measures. So we need to strengthen our regulation framework. Speaking with investors and speaking with landowners, one of the most crucial points is they want clarity. They want to have a clear framework of what the government is asking them to provide in a decade. The last years have shown that we have, due to the fact that we had to revise our own policies, we always came up with even more stricter regulations. But from a perspective of an investor or an owner, this is not satisfying, of course. So they are asking us, please provide us a clear framework, a delta where we can work within the next 10 years. And I think that's one of the major challenges, and also transferring now from Germany to Asia, seeing the fact that we have in some countries of Asian region shifting governments as well, or stable governments. We need to have a clear vision where we are aiming to, and what is the framework, the regulatory framework that is valid for the next 10 to 15 years, and not only a short-sighted vision, in order to build a fast and maybe satisfying approach at the very moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the regulation, as you say, like climate change code, and this kind of the regulation, the owner to understand this regulation. That's a very important point you said, and so that means the like design criteria, for example. The standards must be more, the understandable. Sorry. So, can you hear me?
Connection was lost
Yeah.
for a second. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, technical instability here.
Okay, yeah. So that's why you have some kind of measures to make the owner understand easier. For example, like energy efficiency level, like a level performance standard, like something kilowatt per square meter floor, for example. So more understandable standard maybe very helpful for such to understand the to make owner understand. Is some in Germany you have some kind of suggestion to do like this kind of understandable standard?
I'm very sorry, the connection is kind of bad at the very moment. I hope I got it right. So informative incentives or informative structures that we're doing with the owners in Germany is the question. All right. Yes, of course, we're having a huge public campaign trying to make the people aware, or the owners and even the owners, the tenants, the investors, trying to make them aware about the different approaches and the regulations that we are applying here. It's a huge public debate that is taking place here. It's widespread in the news, and in the light of the current crisis, we are even having a different problem here. We need to invest in energy saving measures, so everybody knows about it. We are trying to promote these concepts by public campaigns, but on the other hand side, we're having also a huge problem in terms of housing availability due to the war of aggression in Ukraine. There has been an influx of refugees here, and we are having a lack of affordable housing on the other hand side, on one hand side, and on the other hand side, we're having the lack of efficient housing. So we're dealing with this tension at the very moment, which is complied by the media, and that's how we inform. I hope I got it right, because the connection, unfortunately, is sometimes very bad, and I'm lacking most of the part. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so okay, so then move to next, the panelist, Mr. Shinoda. You categorize Shinoda. You have based on the experience of Japanese ZEB promotion project. This theme is now one of the priority issues, and various measures such as implemented. I would like to receive your feedback on the specific on these issues and the future measures.
Okay, thank you very much. What I would like to mention here is already mentioned from the many panelists. But let me re-emphasize the importance of the policy package covering the regulation and information and the incentive. And also, what I would like to re-emphasize also is about the combination or the importance of the combination or the interaction between each instruments. So let me explain another example. So there is another subsidy, supportive measure for businesses who want to realize the ZEB. So which is the subsidy for the replacing inefficient equipment into the very efficient equipment like water heater, including heat pumps and kind of that. And in applying for such a subsidy, it is necessary for large-scale businesses to be classified as streamlined businesses based on the report on the energy efficiency measure or the annual energy consumption report, which is mandatory for businesses to report based on the regulation in the Energy Efficiency Act. So this is, I think, another example of the combination. And simply said, to get support, the businesses need to make efforts, and businesses who make efforts, they can get the support, kind of that. And this is a very simple principle, I think, but it's very important. And I think this example is not only focused on the building sector, but also the focusing on the industry sector, where the energy efficiency is very supremely improved. So this is very important point, I believe. So, but anyway, the balanced package would be a very important point. So, and as for the information, so of course, as Dr. Ushio said, the awareness of the building owner is a very important point, as well as the awareness of the building user, who could affect the behavior of the building owner. So, so what's important, I think, is through this opportunity, like this opportunity or the workshop, I need to publicize or explain our policy package for the businesses or practitioner for that. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think he said I think according to just refer to this policy package of IES proposed. I think the policy, the different type of policy, the at same time implement and with a synergy effect have a more effective, result come out. So that is one of the example is stick and carrot policy, which are a very famous policy in Japan, the energy conservation history. So so then I want to the final. So I would like to summarize the this discussion. Now time is almost coming. So the panelists presented concrete measures on these topics, and I think the all panelists raise the measures, policies for in the related to the three, you know, the action area, the action area approach, like policy package approach, like regulation and information and the incentives. And also the mentioned about all the, you know, stakeholders, you know, participation is also key for the, you know, the to the for the zero energy building promotion. So finally, I would like to, you know, the I think the three type of the action area of policy package approach and differing to the present content. Sorry. It becomes clear that like this stick and carrot policy become more effective by combining different type of the action areas, regulation and information and incentive in the well-balanced manners. So that is, you know, the my conclusion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for